Good evening. It is Monday, October 10th of 2022, and this is the Stoughton Plan Commission meeting. And it looks like we have a quorum, so thanks for everyone for being here tonight. And the first item of business is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I would entertain that motion.
Move to approve.
Take Tom.
Okay,
I'll second.
a motion by Majewski and a second by Schumacher. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is council representative report. Anything to report out, Alderperson Carabello?
Yep. Looks like at the September 13th council meeting, Ordinance 17 of 2022 was passed, and at the September 27th meeting, R188, R189, and R190 of 2022 were all passed.
All right, thank you. And then we have staff report.
Yeah, just the one main item I wanted to touch base on tonight is on Thursday night, the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission is expected to take action on the urban service area amendment request for the Magnolia Springs area. You might recall we had a public hearing at the CARPC group in September. We're expecting action, favorable action is what we anticipate on Thursday. So hopefully that moves forward, and we'll continue to look into the preliminary plat materials have now been submitted, so we're starting to review those, and those will be presented in November.
All right, any questions on that? And I would also share that we were contacted by Kramer Developments last week about the Pizza Hut property, and it appears that they have closed on that property. You might recall they brought kind of a concept plan here for our feedback a month or two ago, so they're moving ahead.
Okay. I mean, we'll see that again, because I know we gave them quite a handful of suggestions for how to make that parcel work for them.
They're exploring a lot of options.
Okay.
All right, next item would be plan development, general development plan for lots 1, 3, and 4 within the 51 West development. And we do have a need for a public hearing on this one, but before we do, is there anything we want to cover, Director Shield?
You might recall this concept came before the commission previously. Now it's before you formally for action. It's an amendment to the GDP, so essentially you're rezoning it to a different layout with the additional duplex units on each of the parcels. Lots 1, 3, and 4 in the 51 West development are what are included. There is a site plan in the packet that does show the anticipated layout. We understand that the developer subsequently will be going through a replatting process to actually create individual parcels for each of these 2 family units that will then be split into 0 lot line structures. So the utility plan and the like is included with those provisions anticipated. So this is a number of duplexes that will be on the north and south side of Bluegrass Drive and along the west side of Palmgrass Way. As depicted on the map on the screen, it's the far western part of the development area, and they were anticipated to be duplex units. This just adds additional units to each of the parcels.
All right, we do have a couple guests here related to this topic. If you have any questions for, well, we have an architect and we have engineer.
Yep.
And so if any of the commissioners have any questions for them, they're here. Anything initially, or do you want to do the public hearing and come back?
How many additional, or how much did this increase the density per acre or per?
I believe it was a total of 6 additional units total, spread amongst the 3 different parcels.
Okay.
It was, I believe, 2 in lot 1, and then 2 buildings on lot 1, 1 additional building on lot 3, and 1 additional building on lot 4.
Okay, so that shouldn't have any appreciable impact on traffic flow throughout or safety concerns or anything like that?
Yeah, certainly traffic, it's residential level traffic, so it's not
Yep.
excessive. Additional driveways are noticeable on the development, but the utilities have reviewed it for the additional density related to sanitary sewer and water impacts, and they're not concerned about the additional units as far as that's concerned.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from commissioners at this point? Hearing none, I'll close the regular meeting and reopen for a public hearing. And I didn't have anyone signed up. Is there anyone here to speak on this topic? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and reopen for our business. So what do we have here? We have
There's actually an ordinance
yeah,
in your packet.
my mouse just stopped micing. All right. So I would entertain a motion on the ordinance.
I got one more question in before we go to a motion.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
The way they have those, I mean, I know that the concept on that is to eventually extend those roads further west, right? Are those gonna be just like a flat dead end? Are they gonna kind of bulb that end in? Just for like, we're coming into, that
Yeah.
4-letter word time, so how would they plow that out of the end of that street?
Yeah, valid question. It doesn't impact necessarily these layouts. The lots are already physically there.
Right,
Or
right.
will be, so you'll recognize that it's actually very short distance of the dead end. We are contemplating how that might look as a terminus, but essentially, it's only about 2 lots deep, so it's not
Got it.
as long as most normal temporary cul-de-sac bulbs.
Could they technically like deposit snow off the end of,
Yeah,
that, or-
so there's an adjacent landowner to the west,
Yep.
so there's, they have to be cautious about what they're
Right.
doing
yep,
with that, so.
okay.
I guess my question is, so what is the timetable for this part to get started? And you can come up to the mic if you want. Certainly you can introduce yourself too.
Jeff Grenier, architect. I believe they're putting utilities in this next couple of weeks, and I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think the road's going in until the spring.
Yeah, I can help explain some of that. You're right. The pavement might not yet be completed yet this fall, but irrespective of when the street is completed, you might recall, at least the commissioners and council members will, there's a condition that those lots can't be issued building permits until the water main is connected between 51 West and Kettle Park West, and the sanitary sewer is upgraded in Roby Road between Kingsland Road and Virgin Lake Drive. Those will probably be completed June, July of early next, mid next year. That's also formulated in one of the items in the ordinance. You'll note there's an acknowledgement of the conditions of that have to be adhered to.
All right, are there any other questions from commissioners? All right, hearing none, so I'll go back to the ordinance. And I would entertain a motion for the ordinance.
I'll move to approve to council.
Motion by Schumacher, is there a second?
Second.
Robinson?
Robinson, okay. All right, a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Motion carries, okay. And then that'll go to city council twice
Yep. 2 weeks from
tomorrow,
tomorrow will be the first reading, then there'll be a second reading, the first meeting in November.
which is gonna be November 15th. We rescheduled that meeting. So that's when it ultimately would be considered. All right, thanks for being here. Thank you. You bet. Next item is 314 West Main Street. And you might recall this one was tabled at a previous meeting, so we're gonna continue the conversation on this one. Go ahead, Director Shield.
Yeah, the crux of this one is you'll recall that there was a modified access agreement that was put in, or required or desired to be put in place so that the driveway off of Main Street that fed essentially or serviced the parcel, an adjacent parcel off of Washington Street could be served now off of Prairie Street. That easement document has been put in place with the adjacent landowner and recorded. That's contained in your packet. On the screen right now, you'll see the modification. So the easement along the east property line will now go away and be vegetated. The modified easement as recorded is shown on the screen and will accommodate the property off of Washington Street out to the Prairie Street driveway entrance. So the modified site plan that's before you is really reflecting that modified easement, vegetating the eastern property line and then modifying the pavement plan to accommodate the new easement route.
Thank you. Are there any initial questions on this one?
So are the homeowners, are they satisfied then, I guess, because they've agreed to this?
Yep, they're actually signatures to the document, and they're shaking their head. They're in the audience here.
They're nodding.
Nodding, actually not shaking their head. They're endorsing, they're supportive of it, yes. Thank you for that clarification.
Copy that.
Yeah, we certainly appreciate your patience to get through this process. I know it was a little clumsy, but it looks like we're getting to the finish line here. Any other questions?
Well, I'm pleased that this got some resolution and didn't just languish on for a longer period of time than anyone wanted to.
All right. Hearing no further questions, I'll put there's a resolution for it. I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make the motion to recommend the resolution to amend the site plan at 314 West Main Street.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I think it was Farrell. Any discussion?
Just to be clear, this doesn't go to council. This was part of a site plan approval.
Oh,
So
okay.
the final action rests at the plan commission level.
All right, then.
And that's how the resolution's written.
Yep, move to approve it then.
Okay. All right, you're okay with that, Commissioner Robinson?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We just wanted to clarify that. All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Next item is 317 South Division Street, a facade improvement. Director Shield.
So this property is in your downtown, or our downtown design overlay district. Maybe if we can scroll down to page 9 of this document, I think showing the pictures is probably the best illustration available. Maybe the next one, I think, is even a slight. So that's the existing building. You'll recognize it's the property just on the south side of the alley on Division Street. The upper pictures show what currently exists. The proposed modifications are shown on the lower illustration. It's before you as part of a facade improvement project. And there is one item here that really is outside of the Plan Commission's purview, but they are considering or have requested the placement of a bollard, if you will, right behind the curb and gutter near that that roadway entrance or street entrance, however you want to describe it. As the narrative indicates, there's been a number of times where that facade has been hit by trucks. Not completely sure that the bollard's going to achieve complete success. If they come in from the north, it might still create a challenge, but nonetheless, they're working with the Public Works team to identify whether that can be placed, and if so, where it could be positioned within the right-of-way. So that's separate from the facade application before us tonight.
If I could make a comment.
Sure. Can you just
I'm
introduce
Pamela, the
Okay.
owner of the building. And I did meet with Brett Hebert the other day, and he actually suggested 2 bollards. He thought one right next to the building before you get to the entrance. That would be bright colored. And then the one that we had suggested that's a little more attractive, that would go with the facade, that would be black, out on the sidewalk. And we actually marked it where it would be safe to be. So he did suggest us adding a second one, which I'm more in favor of since we've been hit so many times.
Okay. Are there any questions about the facade? Okay.
I like the look of it.
Maybe we can ask the applicant, what is the time frame you're hoping to move forward with the improvements?
Well, we're hoping to do it very soon because we've been closed. There is actually damage right above the door that is a little sketchy. Like it's safe for us to go in and out every day to do work, but I'm afraid to have customers in. It looks bad, and it also could be kind of dangerous if something fell through there. So we've been just kind of waiting to get this approved. Our contractor's on hand. He's coming tomorrow to take some measurements because I told him that we were this was going before the city today, and of course getting materials takes a while. So I would hope to get it done. We're planning on painting the panels inside the building to avoid the temperature drop and make sure they get a nice finish. And that way, if the temperature does drop in the evening, it won't compromise us. So hopefully by mid-November, we're hoping to have the front redone.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Yeah, it needs it.
All right. Any questions from commissioners? Otherwise, we do have a resolution. I would entertain a motion.
I do have a question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Excuse me. It looks like you're making the windows smaller in the front.
No, actually, the two front windows will stay the same. They're not great windows, but we are actually, where you see that black sign, the old sign, we're going to put just the two squares that you see above the windows there. And then because there is damage to the window box above, which isn't in great shape anyway, but there's going to be like a 1 foot band that goes across the top. And I want to really clarify that on the corners in the front and on the side, there will be a black metal plate, kind of a nautical feel was our idea, but it will protect the corner of the building in the future. It has been hit so many times since I bought the building a couple of years ago. So we thought it would look nice. It's a company in Wisconsin that makes timber frame joints, and we will be changing the entrance because right now the entrance kind of pushes you out. The door faces south, but it pushes you out into the alley, and it's very dangerous because it's a solid wall and you cannot see what's coming in the alley. So we're going to bring the door forward slightly and put a railing from where you see the brick out to the corner, and that's where the pillar will be. So when a person comes out, they have to go straight out onto the sidewalk, and they will be able to see lights or hear a car coming down the alley, which I think will help. Because I have walked out there not looking carefully and been like, oh, there's a car coming. But it's just a blind spot, and we're gonna change that. But the windows are not getting any smaller. Yeah.
The reason I asked is I'm looking at the original photograph and your rendering, and the tops of the windows in the original photograph are at the same height as the doors, and in your rendering, they're below the doors.
Right, because inside the building, where you see these two brackets and that flat thing with it's at an angle, there's a box inside the bar that was built kind of like it's like a cubby hole. You go in there, then it turns to the left, and then you open the door, it goes in deep. Takes a lot of space inside the bar, and it wasn't made well. What we're doing is we're taking that box out and we're making it smaller, but where you see the horizontal line above that entranceway, the door, that will go up. And so the door will have, if you look at the drawing, the door, and you're looking straight on, we do have a side view that unfortunately kind of got covered up here. But the door will be the same height as the door that's in there, but the ceiling above it will be higher, just slightly higher, which gives a little more room. When you go in that little cubby hole as it is, we have a porch light, and it's really, if you're a really tall guy, if you look at this drawing over here to the right, you'll see the metal plate, you'll see the post, and you see some railings there. We're gonna put some metal railings, so you have to walk straight out. But it will be actually taller in the entrance overhang, but the doorway will be the same height. And we will make a small, almost like a transom, but right now we're just planning on making it wood above the door.
And the front windows are at the same, because I'm looking at your rendering,
Yeah.
they are lower than the doors.
Okay, well, it could be just the drawings that are a little different. We have the color rendering photoshopped, and what you're also looking at is a difference in depth. So that door is probably 3 or 4 feet further back than the windows.
Right. All right,
So the windows are not changing.
Right.
I would love to change the front windows, but they're very expensive, and for now, we're just gonna leave them. They're strong, they don't have any problems, so we're just going to work with what we have in the front there.
sure.
And we're not changing the diameter. We're also matching the same size upstairs. The window box, or the bay, has really narrow windows on the sides, and I'm waiting until tomorrow to find out. We have a lot of windows, and we have an issue on the other side of the building. We're going to put all new windows in, and that was part of my application with Michael. We did a plan, but we have an issue on the side that connects to the Chinese restaurant. There is and I didn't include this in this, I'm working with the city inspector on this. There are 2 hoods, like fryer hoods, that were installed, and one of them is right in front of our kitchen window upstairs, and it has completely charred the window. And the second one from the hood that's further back is in front of where there used to be a window, and I think maybe that's why they closed it up. I don't know how long those hoods have been there. He told me the state had approved them years ago, and he had contacted them personally to see if we can come to some kind of, I don't know, we could help them financially. I really like the people in that building. They're really nice. And they pay for a lot of stuff they shouldn't pay for in that building. But I don't want to cost them a lot of money, but I can't have fryer vents right in front of my windows either, and I don't want to close up all my windows in the back, but we're going to try to figure that out. But meanwhile, we're going to try to keep as many windows as we already have and keep the sizes the same.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions about the facade? Okay, hearing none, I'll go back to the resolution here. And I'm looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
I move to approve the resolution.
All right. That was
Second.
Mayeski.
Either Tom or Tom, one of the two.
Okay, I had Mayeski first. You want to second it?
Caravello on second.
Caravello was the second, okay. Any more discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. All right, so now the moment we've all been waiting for. That would be the Mobile Service Support Structure Ordinance to amend Section 78-015, 78-105, and Appendix C, repealing and recreating Section 78-206, Parent 7, Parent C to Chapter 78, Stoughton Code of Ordinances. We have Attorney Matthews here tonight to kind of update us where we're at, maybe review where we were when we left the last meeting.
Right, so if you all recall, I'll just briefly summarize. At the last meeting, we discussed making some changes to your mobile tower ordinances, simply because state law had changed and the ordinances hadn't necessarily kept up with those law changes. So basically, under state law, the city's ability to regulate mobile towers is severely limited. So what we did, what my office did in conjunction with Rodney and Mike, is to come up with an ordinance that we feel provides the city sort of the easiest and best method for trying to regulate the location of mobile towers. So one of the very few instances that you can regulate is setbacks in zoning districts that allow for single-family residential, or if a property is adjacent to a single-family zoning district or a district that allows single-family, the setback can be up to the height of the tower. In all other districts, the structure is the height limit, or the setback can't be greater than what you would do for a regular commercial building. So planning staff feels that the ordinance that we have in front of you, making the mobile towers a permitted use in all districts, but establishing that setback, is going to have a very strong effect of sort of encouraging mobile towers in other areas of the city, like commercial and industrial areas, as opposed to residential or districts that allow for single family. Just based on the lot sizes that we deal with, it's very unlikely you'll find a spot that can have a 200-foot setback for one of these towers in a residential place. So this is the ordinance that we've drafted to put all those changes into effect, and feel it's consistent with the discussion we had last month. But happy to answer any questions, or if we need to make any changes, more than happy to do that as well.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Director Shield?
I think he characterized it properly. I think we did recognize the challenges with structuring this language, but we do feel comfortable that it does minimize the opportunity for them to be placed in what we'd consider low-density residential areas, single-family, i.e. There might be a remote location, but not one that's very obvious that it would be available to be sited in one of those residential districts. So we think the risk is slim, but yet offers a standard for placement of them elsewhere throughout the city.
Are there any initial questions before we go into the public hearing? So I guess my question would be is, on a new development, is there a mechanism through covenants or deed restrictions or anything like that where we could protect new developments from trying to incorporate something into their site plan?
I would say potentially yes. I haven't really given that a lot of thought, but if it's a property restriction, I mean, that's not a regulation that the city has on its books. It's not an ordinance that's preempted by state law. It's more or less a private property owner imposing that restriction on the property. So my initial reaction would be that would be a potential way of addressing this for newer developments.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we go into the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close our regular meeting, open for the public hearing. There's nobody in the room, there's nobody online, and we have no emails. So I guess nobody's interested in this topic except for us. So we'll close the public hearing and reopen for our business. In the packet, we do have kind of the explanation of how we got here tonight, and I believe there is ordinance changes in here. Any thoughts before I would entertain a motion?
I think it's consistent with what the discussion was last time. It was in your packet last time as well. I don't think we've made any modifications since that point, but certainly available to try to answer questions if there are any.
Still gives us a helpless feeling, but at least I think we've got whatever we can get to help it out.
Certainly more control than what exists now.
Yep.
All right, well, we appreciate the time that you took on it as well as staff, so thanks for getting us to this point. I would entertain a motion for the ordinance. Don't all jump at once.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Schumacher. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Future agenda items.
There's a few. Mentioned we'll probably have a preliminary plat for the Magnolia Springs area in November. A conditional use application for indoor commercial entertainment at 384 East Main Street, and a conditional use application and site plan for gingerbread daycare at 1540 Williams Drive. So those are upcoming items that we'll likely have before us in the near future as well.
All right, anything from commissioners you want to talk about? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Schumacher, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Caravello, he wants to get back to his bike. All in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Aye.
Also,